I will, and to kind of transition into kind of what we're going to talk about, it does relate to what Dan Campbell just said. Peter Schrager, his mock draft. This is what I do respect about Peter Schrager. He didn't just take a player that made sense and moved on, explain why it made sense. He really thought about this draft selection, and he took what Dan and Brad say and preach and what they believe and when they, what they're looking for when they draft players, and put it into a mock draft. And it's a first rounder, so it's just the first pick. They thought out of the players available, the most compatible player for the Detroit Lions is center Zach Frasier, interior offensive lineman / center. He from West Virginia. And look at his explanation for Zach Frasier. He writes here, Frasier is a former state wrestling champion who's nasty, versatile, and hungry. This is a Brad Holmes / Dan Campbell prospect, if there ever was one, with the West Virginia product oozing bulldog characteristics. And this is per Pride of Detroit, by the way. Just want to make sure. Shout out to those guys. If we learned anything from the Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell picks last year, it's that the Lions draft guys they like, as opposed to dwelling on needs and perceived positional value. It's a shot at me, for sure. He writes here, this is the first time Frasier has been paired with the Lions this offseason, as NFL.com's Daniel Jeremiah projected him to the Lions back in February. Jeremiah further explained the pick in the conference call following that mock draft. This is Daniel Jeremiah. He drafted Frasier to the Lions as well. He says, I was giving them Frasier for almost the exact same reason. When you look at the center from West Virginia, the guy's a 4-time state champ wrestler. He is super physical. He finishes guys. Pause. He kind of plays that nasty style. There are certain guys when we were in Baltimore where we used to say, play like a Raven, and we could put red stars on players that we felt like were our guys. And they went to kind of speak on the grit, the meaning of grit, and why Frasier made a lot of sense. And an example, it's a great article that Pride of Detroit has out here. And you saw, look at it, even says, for example, in the Mountaineers regular season finale, they were down 4 points in driving. Unfortunately, with a minute left in the game, Frasier broke his leg. And in an effort to prevent his team from incurring a 10-second runoff due to injury, he illustrated his toughness by finding a way to get off the field. Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ.
That's a Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell guy if I've ever heard of one.
That's grit. Absolute grit. And then it just went into kind of the need.
Is that the video of his broken leg getting off the field?
I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, you won't get copyrighted. Because this isn't from like a monetized stream. This is like from West Virginia's camera.
Do they just show like a broken leg? And
I don't know if I want to see that, to be honest.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
It might be.
Oh no, bro definitely just broke his leg. Yeah, he definitely did.
Oh, look at him. He's getting up. Oh, look at him. Look at him.
Oh my
God. I want Zach Frasier. Look at that.
Bring him home. Bring him home.
No way.
Bring him home.
A broken leg.
Wow. Who is this guy?
Dude, I mean, if he comes
bring
to
him
Detroit,
here now.
Keep him out of San Fran. Like, if you need an excuse, just keep him out of San Francisco. Use that as an excuse.
Canadian scored.
Bring him home.
Canadian scored, boys. Not good.
Not the Wings, right? You just
Wings
said
are down 4-3, 7
Canadian
minutes
scored.
to go.
Oh no.
Hey, it's Lucas Raymond time. It's Lucas Raymond time. We were feeling the same way the other night. That man's literally a dog. He was on all fours crawling off the field.
With a broken leg.
The man wanted to smoke.
Do you guys feel like what Scott was saying yesterday? Like, I'm starting to get the feeling a little bit now that the Lions just go offensive line and just stack that thing up. You got so many linemen in this draft, in this first round, that could fall to you. Like if Jackson Powers Johnson falls to you, if he falls, like Zach Frazier's going to be available.
Has JPJ ever broke his leg and crawled off? Like that's
JPJ,
but they need to block them. They need to go hash the sideline, broken leg.
If Graham Barton falls, there's just dudes that fall to you, and there's elite guys. I feel like guards in this draft that you could be like, let's just take him and move on.
We've seen this guy get up with a broken leg and crawl to the sideline. So
imagine what he's going to do if his draft stock falls.
He's used to getting up.
That's true.
If he gets all the sideline. He's used to crawling back up. That's a dog. I wouldn't be mad. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I have no problem. I trust him. It's weird saying that, but it's true. I trust Brad Holmes. If he takes an offensive lineman, he takes Zach Frasier, I'm cool with it. We just talked about, he could play guard. He played center pretty much every snap at West Virginia. So he's a center. He could play guard. If you're athletic enough and he's a smart football player, and he loves the game, he could play guard. And then he could transition to center when Frank eventually hangs it up. So I have no issue with that. Does it scare me with the edge depth? Yeah, but I get it. I would understand.
I wouldn't be mad because it's just like, keep like your bread and butter. Like, keep your offensive line. Yeah,
keep it great.
Especially you have Jahmyr Gibbs for the next few years. You have David Montgomery for a couple more years. You don't want that offense. Like when Kevin Zeitler leaves, you don't want that to fall apart. And you don't want to get stuck in a position next year you have no backup plan. And that's why I just wouldn't be shocked. Like if we're sitting there doing the draft show and Zach Frasier comes across the board, I'm not going to sit there and just go, oh no, here we go. I'm going to lock in and be like, yep, this is it. This is it, fellas. Add depth to what you're great at.
It even says here in the Pride of Detroit, their article about Zach Frasier, that he's a pro-ready player who's familiar with both gap and zone blocking schemes like the Lions run currently. And they would allow, I talked about, you just mentioned, Boone, that their offensive line can keep going without skipping a beat. So,
yep. As much as you guys hear this, there's going to be a crazy. This is crazy. This is nuts. I can see the future. Someone out on the offensive line at some point next year for a game, maybe a quarter, is gonna get injured.
Why? How can you say that? Are you wishing injury? You wish an injury?
All right. I thought you guys were going to react differently to that. It's going to happen. It happens every year. Offensive linemen
I'm
get
kidding.
hurt.
Yeah, you're right.
It happens every year. Yeah. You have to have a backup plan. That's why Graham Glasgow last year was so valuable, is because he was like your sixth man. And think about a sixth man on your offensive line when your offensive line is number one in the NFL and your sixth man in the offensive line comes in and you're still the number one offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah. Injury, you need depth. It's hard. Offensive line depth is the hardest, I think, position besides quarterback. Obviously, it's hard to replace your starter, but it's hard to replace offensive linemen, man, especially tackles or your center. If you have one of the best centers in the game, it's hard. So, and it's like every team's like, we want offensive line depth. No team can do. It's hard because if they're good, they'd be starting. Like that's just how typically it works. I saw Zach's kind of putting this in there. Would you take Frasier over Kool-Aid?
Drop a poll.
That's a good one. A poll would be sweet for that because I'm interested to actually see what people think. I don't know.
I'll let the people answer this. All right. I'll let the people answer this.
I would prefer Kool-Aid, but I think Frasier would be more likely. Is that fair to say?
Is that fair? Okay.
You know what? Yeah, Klotzy, you know why? Because I would prefer it as well because to me, there's more of a need on the defensive side immediately when it comes to the corner position than there is a need immediately for the guard position or center. I think you're drafting Frasier for like depth and in the future. Kool-Aid, it's hey Kool-Aid, we're probably going to need you to step in and play at some like throughout this year. That's going to happen. I think it's more of a need. But again, the need thing with Brad Holmes, what does that even matter at this point?
And he's picky at corner.
Yeah, so what I would see. I do think he would rather go guard and get an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if Frasier was the pick. I wouldn't be mad. If Kool-Aid was on the board and he took Frasier, I would understand.
Didn't he go right after in this mock draft?
I didn't look at the full mock. I just broke down the Lions pick, but
I believe it was right after. I could double check. But guess what? Actually, are we able to pull this full mock up? Because I just want to show the people something on there. Is that okay? Are we like? Do you have it? Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah, send it to me, and then we'll pull it up. Personally, I would rather have Kool-Aid because I think a number one corner, if you believe he can be one, is just.
Do you believe he can be that? That's the question.
Certainly, I do.
Jeff, where would you like me to send this?
That's where me and you veer off. That's where we veer off.
There's like an exit. There's an exit. You're going left. I'm going right. We're veering off the different.
Paul Walker, yeah.
Yep. Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say next, but yeah, that's pretty much true.
Do you want me to
are you Paul Walker or am I Paul Walker? That's where I was kind of wondering.
I wouldn't say in that sense. I'm just saying as far as veering off.
All right. That's fair. But if they took Zach Frasier, I wouldn't be sitting here pounding the table like they messed. They're going to regret this decision. Like I think if you have a franchise center and Zach Frasier, that's worth it. You know.
Yeah.
Now Darius Robinson or Zach Frasier.
Interesting.
Again, I'd prefer D-Rob, but I could see a situation where it's more. See, I don't know. I think honestly, Darius Robinson they prefer and is a better need. Like when you go back to like the guys that they like, they visited with Darius a lot. He's a very fundamental football player that's not flashy or anything like that. He's from the area. Fits that grit personality, I think. So I think he would be a pick there for sure.
They did visit with him multiple times.
I'm curious about that one too.